The yeas are 227 and the nays are 203. The conference report is adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
Well, that was the exuberant Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, announcing passage of the GOP tax bill that will make sweeping changes to our tax laws, the first time in a generation. However, due to a procedural glitch, the House will have to vote again this morning. Late last night, the bill was sent to the Senate for final passage. It passed 51-48. It will make its way to the White House for a signing ceremony this afternoon. The Democrats say the $1.5 trillion package will favor the rich while hurting low-income Americans.
It's cruel and it's cold-hearted. It steals from the hard-earned paychecks of low and middle-income families and lines the pockets of millionaires, billionaires, and wealthy corporations.
This bill should be named the Republican Donor Class Relief Act, because that's what it is.
Your reward, your donors, so that our children and grandchildren will suffer. This is not fair, it is not just, and it is below the dignity and worth of this body.
Of course, this new tax bill is extremely, people are not happy at all with it. Very, now compared to the 1986 tax reform bill, okay, when Reagan passed. Look at the numbers here, folks, to understand what this looks like. The Monmouth University poll found that nearly half of all Americans disapprove of the tax reform bill. Only 26% approve it, as 1 out of 2 Americans believe their own taxes will go up under this plan. It also messes with the mandate when it comes to the Affordable Care Act and a number of other things as well. Joining us right now, Congressman William Lacy Clay of Missouri. Congressman, when you go through this bill, first of all, it's interesting that many Republicans have not even read the bill. Okay, it impacts teachers and their supplies. It impacts graduate students. Colleges and universities were not happy at all with this bill as well. And so all those little people running around in their nice little red Make America Great Again hats, do they understand they are about to get screwed with this bill?
Well, really, Roland, first let me say thank you for having me on the program today and for your voice on issues that have meant a lot to the African American community. I just wanted to come on today and tell you thank you for that. Let's get to the Trump robots. That's exactly what the certain segment of the population that follows Trump blindly, that believes that this person can do no wrong. And that's part of the problem with the process of how this bill was put together. You mentioned the 86 tax bill. It took 4 years, 250 hearings over a 4-year period to craft a bill. This one took less than 4 months, no hearings, and it certainly shows how flawed the bill is. In fact, with them having to go back today and re-vote it in the House.
But in fact, it wasn't even voted upon by, it wasn't even looked at by a majority of Republicans. Only 14 Republicans pretty much crafted this bill. Well, I mean, a handful. And it was like, okay, boom, here it is. There you go. Vote on it. And they said, okay, we got it. We're good.
And it tells you what a disaster a piece of legislation this is. How they manipulated the tax code to take advantage for the top 1% of the wage earners in this country. 83% of the tax benefit goes to the top 1% in this country. After 7 years, 182 million Americans' taxes will go up. Middle class Americans, those Trump robots that follow this man blindly, they will feel the effects of it.
Shelley, go to my iPad. Look at the headline in Vox.com. We're witnessing the wholesale looting of America.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that?
I think that headline says it all about this legislation, about the process that we have just witnessed on Capitol Hill. They will take a victory lap today at the White House with President Trump telling his robots that this is good for you when he knows better, and he knows that it's only good for maybe 500 families in the entire country, because they double the estate tax, and they give realtors big breaks, and so it's tragic, and it tells you that elections have consequences, and these are the consequences of the American electorate not being totally involved, which tells us that in 2018 and 2020, we need to make a difference. We need to be out there.
Let's go to our panel. Greg Carr, Chair of the Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Candace Tolliver Burns, Chief Communications Officer for the Friendship Public Charter Schools. Cleo Monago, Behavioral Health and Cultural Analyst, CEO of Black Men's Exchange. Greg, again, I'm looking at this Vox piece. They said there are 4 winners and 4 losers in this bill. Winner, corporate America. They also say winner, Donald Trump. Winner, individual taxpayers for the short term. And then they say loser, individual taxpayers in the long term. Loser, fiscal conservatism. Loser, blue states. This was a bill where they specifically targeted blue states by capping the property tax deduction. So how much higher property taxes in New Jersey or New York, California. They even, again, went after graduate students.
Absolutely.
That impacts your students.
Oh, no question. Graduate and undergraduate students, but certainly you're going to tax this, and not only that, universities with endowments, it's going to affect them as well. That's one of the 3 things they got to reconcile. They've moved so fast that one of the things they have to reconcile now is the literal name of the bill. That's how fast they try to do this. But this is really about philosophy. What does America mean? And at the end of the day, what Paul Ryan believes, and parenthetically, shout out to that gavel for trying to escape him and joining the resistance, even as it fell off. But what they're trying to do is roll back the 20th century. And the last time we saw something like this wasn't 1986, but 1981, when they did this big giveaway. And if people remember, in 1982, and then again another year and a half later, they had to raise taxes. Reagan raised taxes twice. I think what we're looking at is the prelude to the real resistance. Will the House flip in 2 years? Will they be able to then roll some of this stuff back? And then finally, in doing what you said, which is attack these so-called blue states and do this other thing, what they're basically trying to do is dismantle the federal government. Marco Rubio told the truth when he said this is just step 1. Step 2 is now to eviscerate the social safety net.
Candace, Republicans are supposedly supporters of charter schools. Charter schools get screwed in their bill. I mean, they're like, oh, we about to hook up as many of the donor class as possible.
Well, not just charter schools, but the families and the students that charter schools are dedicated to serve.
And K through 12 traditional schools.
So, as you know, as an officer of a major charter school in this nation, Friendship Public Charter School, we service what I would say are those families that are most affected by this. Here in D.C., I would say the average income for African-American families is under $40,000. And so when you're looking at families who are making roughly $24K to $60K, they're going to lose deductions in a massive way, deductions that they depend on to feed their families, to pay their mortgages, to pay their rent, to clothe their children. So we're going to see the impact of this on these families and children who we serve. They're going to then look to their school communities to say, how can you help us? We already see it now, and we anticipate seeing more of this as we see this bill take shape.
Cleo here's going to be the trickle-down effect. We saw this in Kansas when former Senator Sam Brownback tried the exact same thing, decimated the Kansas budget. I mean, local governments lost their minds. Republicans had to overturn his veto and actually raise taxes. One of the things that they're also, by doing this, this is now going to put pressure on state and local governments to slash taxes as well because of what they put in place and what now then becomes services. So to Greg's point, absolutely, this whole idea of we're going to decimate government, and the next step, they've already made it clear. Yes, sir. Welfare reform, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, entitlements. So all those folks in those red states who were saying, yay, Donald Trump, this train is about to blow through their communities and destroy them. Go ahead, Cleo.
Well, we're witnessing life in a very interesting time because because of Trump and what led to him becoming president, we're going to be able to see if white supremacy will break out of its crazy trance and become practical. Because right now, they'll be broke and poor and everything else because they're psychologically committed to white power. And all this rational stuff you guys talking about, you know, being able to go to school, being able to be financially wealthy or intact, that's irrelevant. They want to take America back again. But getting to Roland's points and other points I already raised, there's going to be a trickle-down effect that's going to result in disaster for people economically and the economic status of their lives. So we're going to get to see if they want to be white and crazy or sane and have a life. You know what I'm saying? Because we've never seen nothing like this before. And sometimes white supremacy often trumps what's right for humanity. That's how this country was built.
Congressman Clay, go ahead.
He's absolutely right. The bill has a racial overtone to it. It impacts negatively black and brown people in a disproportionate way. And then think about the 13 million people that are going to lose health insurance because you no longer have the individual mandate in it, the $25 billion that Medicare will be hit with automatically when this becomes law. It is an attack on the social safety net, and that's exactly how they designed
it's an investment,
this
though,
process to work.
White power and white control. Even if the white people are rich and poor whites are poor, some of them like at least somebody white is running this.
Well, I would say here's the bottom line in terms of who is really the victim. Who is this money going to be owed to? Private finance capital. After Citizens United, what we saw in 2010, for example, you had $73 million that was really put in these private races. That's up to almost $1 billion now from people like Robert Mercer and them. Who's on the stick for that? The taxpayers.
And that's who the Republican Party depends on.
That's exactly
for
right.
their donor.
That's exactly
their donor base, for their donation to the campaign. Right. And it's only about 7 to 8 families that they really have to depend on.
Real quick.
So the debate is ideology versus practicality. And you often think that when things hit home, people have a wake-up call. Okay, so this is hitting home. But we haven't seen that with the election of this president. We haven't seen that with his poll numbers among his base. So that remains to be seen, but it's doubtful.
Here's the deal. The question then will be, will Democrats go into those red areas and look those same white voters in the eye with their little red hats and say, I'm explaining to you how you about to get screwed. They gotta have that courage. I gotta go, Congressman Clay. I really appreciate it.
Weekdays on TV1.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no.
That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV1.